Okay, let's hope that this is working correctly. In this tutorial, we're going to look at movie clips and how to embed them. In our last video, we looked at tweens, and now we're going to be doing something very similar. We're going to create symbols, but instead of having them as graphics, we're going to create movie clips. So for starters, let's do something that we can animate. Let's draw ourselves an eye. Just a basic eye, doesn't have to be anything fancy. Okay, now I'm going to fill it with some color. Let's go green eyes. Sure, why not? V, shortcut, select, bring over. Q, transform, shortcut. Okay, and let's do another little bits. Let's go O for oval, V select, double click, bring this back in the center, Q transform, okay, and a black pupil, we'll say, just for good measure. V select, and these are just shortcuts that I'm using. Okay, it's not the prettiest eye, but it'll do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my selection tool, select all of it, then I can right click anywhere where there's actual graphics and convert to symbol. And this time, instead of going from graphic, we're going to select movie clip. And whatever you call it is whatever's going to pop up in your library, so I'll call this eyeball. Enter. Now as long as I have eyeball in my library, I can delete the one off my stage, so I'll delete. If I wanted to, just like before, in the previous tutorial, you can drag out multiple instances of the same thing, and it'll work out great for you. So I'll click delete. Alright, next I'm going to give myself a nose. Brush. Let's do something really basic so I can speed this up. And a little bit of a nostril. Sure, there we go. V, selection tool. Right click, convert to symbol. Call it movie clip, call this nose. Enter. Now that it's in my library, I can delete it. And the last one I want to do is a mouth. And let's go with paintbrush. And I'll just fill it with black. And then when I animate it, I'll change its color. So back to my selection tool. Convert to a symbol. Movie clip, call it mouth. Enter. It's in there, so I can delete it. And now I'm going to give myself a head. So B, paintbrush. Okay, not the most symmetrical head, but that'll work. Now the reason why I'm doing each of these separate, can anybody guess? Anything that's separate, I have the option to animate and move around. So I'm going to convert to a symbol, call it head. Okay, now at this point you could add hair or eyelashes, eyebrows, mustache, earrings, whatever you wanted to. But we're going to keep moving ahead because in the interest of time, we don't want to spend 10 minutes looking at me do artwork. Alright, so our main timeline down here, okay, is called Scene 1. This guy is a movie clip on Scene 1. If I double click into him, and in order to do so, I have to click on the artwork. I can't click on the white space, so you double click. And now you'll see I'm in Scene 1 and my symbol of head, my movie clip. This is a timeline for my movie clip head. Now from here, I'm going to drag in my eyeball. Actually, let's make two eyes. I'll quick transform and flip it around just by dragging the handlebars. And I will shrink it down so that it has the right size that I'm looking for. Oh, that's my anchor point. Too small, so let's go in. There we go. Zoom out, Command minus. There we go. Now drag in my nose. Q, transform, bring this guy down. There we go. Select it. Kind of a big nose. Oh wow, that's huge. Okay, how about that? A little better. And the mouth. Let's bring that down as well. And plus. Okay. Now the reason why I did this is to show you guys that I can have each one of these objects within another object. But because I'm in the head timeline, I can't say create another head without getting an error. You cannot place a symbol inside itself. If you wanted another head, you'd have to create another head or copy and paste it on the main timeline and change its name. Okay, so now that I'm in the head and I have all my items here, if I wanted to, I could go into my eyeballs and edit them. I can double click, and now I'm in my scene timeline, my head timeline, and my eyeball timeline. I'm going to edit my eyeball timeline. Command plus, zoom in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to animate it just a little bit. So I'll say scene or frame 1, he's completely open. Frame 2, keyframe. I'm going to take my black brush. I'm just going to try to do this a little quickly. Make it look like he has a little bit of an eyelid. Come over 2 frames, keyframe, brush. Now I'm not going to draw eyelashes, that'll just take too long. And the shortcut for the paint bucket, if you don't know already, is the K key. So F6. Come back with my brush. That's a little bit small. Let's go a little bit bigger. There we go. K. Fill, fill, fill. Now at this point you could animate anything you wanted to. I'm just trying to go a little quick so that you're not watching me do artwork. Okay. F6. Okay. Go. F6. B. Wrong one. K is my fill. And the last one. Move over a little bit. F6. K. Fill. Now, if you watch the ball bouncing tutorial that we did in class, you'll know that there's a way to reverse something that just happened. So I have the lid coming down like a shutter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse it. So I'm going to give myself an extra frame here. I'm going to select all my keys, right click, my frames rather, copy frames, come to frame 16, right click, paste frames. Now I'm going to reselect my frames up to frame 16, right click, reverse frames. So now I just gave myself an opening sequence. And I'll just keyframe the last one so it stays open a little bit. There we go. V. Now what's kind of cool is, now I can't play it on here because I only have one keyframe. But if I'm in my eyeball layer, my eyeball timeline, I can play it back and I can see it, no problem. So if I go back to my scene 1 and I play it, I only have the one frame. So nothing's going to happen. But if I zoom out and I run it, do command return, You can see that my eyes are closing. Yay! Okay, so from here I'm just going to animate my mouth, go into my mouth layer, or timeline. By going into my item directly, it automatically just jumped me from scene 1 to mouth because I'm going through my library. If I wanted to, I could double click on my head, and from my head, double click into my mouth. And there I am. Still in my mouth timeline, but I've accessed it differently. Command plus, and let's go frame 3, frame 4, whichever. And now I'm going to press delete, brush, and then K for my fill. And let's go red. There we go. Make that a little bit longer. And then I will bring it back to where it was. Delete. Go back to frame 1. Go to edit, which you can't see right now, I'm off screen. Edit. Copy. Go into frame, what is this, 13 maybe? Now I'm going to go edit, paste, or command V. Right now my keyboard's not cooperating because I'm recording, so I'll just assume that this is roughly in the same place it was. My apologies, I'm only recording a smaller screen, so it's a better quality on YouTube, but we'll try that. Make an extra frame just so it has a little bit of a longer sequence. Command minus. Turn back to scene 1, I'll run that. Command return. And there we go. That is the concept of embedding movie clips. We have one item on our timeline. If I click delete on this guy, my eyeball is just my eyeball, my mouth is just my mouth, my nose is just my nose, but my head has all my pieces. So I could just drag in the one piece, and there it is. You can edit each piece individually, and that makes your life a whole lot easier. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time on Mr. A's next tutorial.